This is your economics video for the business cycle. The economy is cyclical, and sometimes we do really well and things are going great and people have jobs and that means they're buying stuff, businesses are doing well, and unemployment is low. And then other times we're in recessions, and this is totally natural. The economy is a cycle, and so this is also what it could look like if it was on a graph. The blue line represents what's actually going on in the economy. So this part where the line is going upwards, we call that the expansion. That is where things are going really well. The peak is the highest point of the economic cycle, and then everything after the peak is contraction. This is where the recession comes in. The economy contracts, gross domestic product goes down. The trough is the lowest part of the recession, and then we start all over again with expansion. Now, if you were to average this line, we get the trend line. And then what's actually happening is the blue line, where sometimes we're doing better than average and sometimes we're doing worse than average. So there are times where we're in a boom period and then sometimes when we're in recessions. So your definitions, a peak is the highest point in a business cycle. And that is the highest point. Everything after the peak is going to be recessionary. The trough is the lowest point in the recession, and everything after it will be expansionary. Now, the recovery or expansion is defined as any time we have increasing gross domestic product quarter over quarter. So a quarter is 3 months, and gross domestic product is the total amount of goods and services we produce in the US. If that percentage is going up from last quarter, then we are in a recovery or an expansion. We don't use recession is actually a time when GDP is decreasing from the quarter before, but we don't typically use the word recession until we have 2 quarters in a row when GDP is going down from the quarter before. And one of the reasons why we don't use the recession word quickly is because this could just be a blip. It could be, one quarter where it just weird, people didn't buy stuff, and then we go back to expansionary and recovery. We also don't use the recession word quickly because it can scare people into thinking a big recession is coming. And if people believe a big recession is coming, then they start to save their money, and that thus causes a recession because the economy is a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if people act as though we're in a recession, we create a recession. And if people act as if we are in an expansion, then we create expansion. A depression is just a really bad recession, and there's no specific amount of quarters or months of gross domestic product to define a depression.